spend my life mending broken people. I want to spend my life removing pain. Lord, let my words heal a heart that hurts. I want to spend my life mending broken people. I want to spend my life mending broken people.
Hello and welcome to 3ABN Today. My name is C.A. Murray, and allow me once again to thank you for sharing just a little of your day with us, to thank you for your love, your prayers, and your support of Three Angels Broadcasting Network. We thank you for being with us these 32 plus years and for the work that God has called us to do together as we lift up the mighty and matchless name of Jesus. I'm excited today because of our program and because of the ministry that we have a chance to talk about and to highlight. I like what I would call, I guess, a niche ministry. This is a ministry that fulfills a specific purpose in the world of ministries, and we've got two really great guys here to tell us about the ministry, which is called Ultimate Mission. James Reynolds, who's the president of Ultimate Mission, and just a little further away, board chairman Donald Lorenson. Okay, very good. Who is the board chairman of Ultimate Mission, and they are headquartered in Gladstone, Oregon.
Yes.
Gladstone is near where?
Portland.
Portland, okay.
Yes, bedroom city,
Okay.
bedroom community for Portland.
So in the
Oregon.
Portland metro area. Very good. You both are Northwest guys.
Yes.
From the Oregon area?
Right now.
That could be anything. I want to get, before we talk about the ministry and go to our music, I want to get a little history on both of you. And I think I'll start with you, James, because you've got a pretty interesting background. Born in an Adventist home, grew up Adventist?
Yes, yeah. Grew up an Adventist, great Adventist mother. And about high school, after high school or during high school, I left the church for about 26 years.
So some wilderness time there.
Some wilderness time,
Yeah.
some pretty heavy wilderness time. And so about after 26 years, there were a few things that happened in my life that brought me to my knees and brought me back to God.
On your way out, was it kind of a sudden thing? Did you kind of just drift away? Did you not have a chance to sort of lock onto Christ for yourself? How would you describe that time?
It was step by step. I mean, Satan takes you piece by piece.
Yeah.
One compromise, and then another compromise, and pretty much after a while, those compromises don't seem like compromises, and you're just walking down the wrong road. And so that's, that's pretty much what took me in the wrong direction. Is just doing this, doing that. I knew that was wrong, but hey, it feels okay now.
Right. And because you come kind of desensitized to the voice of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
So walk me through the return.
Well, on the return, I had felt God calling in my life several times throughout my life because I had that solid Christian foundation, which is so important to children. The Adventist schools was really what helped me have that solid foundation. What brought me back was watching my son, who I hadn't given that foundation to. And I watched him start going downhill. I watched him start to experiment with drugs, with alcohol, and get to a point where at 15 years old he was leaving the house. He wasn't coming back at night, and me and my wife would look at each other and say, did Jimmy make it home last night? And then finally, one point, he came into the house and his eyes were all big, being high on coke or something. And he walked into his room and he slammed the door, and I said, this is it, I can't take this anymore. And I go in there and I grabbed him by the collar and I put him against the wall. I said, you can't do this anymore. And he looked at me and he started hitting his own head against the wall, saying, you can't hurt me, you can't hurt me. And at that point, I just let him down. And a little bit later, I went into the bedroom and I fell on my knees and I said, God, if you will help me save my son, I will do anything. I will go anywhere. I will do anything you'd like me to do. And when you tell God that, CA, you better have your work boots handy.
Yeah, very true.
Because I tell you what, when I told God I would do anything, boy, oh boy, did God really start working in my life. And it was shortly after that that I was baptized, and God just set it up for me to get involved in one ministry after another until finally I got involved in this ministry and helped another gentleman to start Ultimate Mission. And it has gone from there.
Praise God.
And God has really, really opened a lot of doors for us.
Now this is post your motorcycle accident.
No, my motorcycle accident was when I was 21 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was 21. I had already left the church. I was doing some things I knew I shouldn't have been doing. And I had that motorcycle accident, and fortunately, well, at the time, I lost my leg above the knee, broke my femur. I had 13 metal plates in my face. My jaw, I had to have my jaw wired shut, my nose completely rebuilt. And it scares me looking back at that, CA, because if I would have died that day on that motorcycle accident with where I was at with God, I would have woken up looking at the outside of the walls of the New Jerusalem.
I'm hearing you, yeah.
And so I look back on that. God saved my life for a reason. But you know, I was so stubborn. I remember laying there in the hospital thinking to myself, you know, this is a good time to turn over a new leaf. This would be a good time to go back to my Adventist roots. But then I thought, you know, well, what would my friends think? What would my friends think? What is... And I was too stubborn. I felt like I was strong enough to take care of it myself.
Yeah.
And I felt I had to change and become perfect before I could come back to church and come back to God. I didn't realize I could come back to Him as I was.
Yes, sir.
And so it took me until that happened to my son. And the funny part about, you know, he was 11 and he was sitting there at the fireplace, and he told me, Dad, we need to start going to church. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, I know we should, but I didn't. And it was only 4 years after that he got into drugs and alcohol. So I tell you, there's enough guilt to... But yeah, I had a great experience with God, that He brought me to my knees and brought me to the point where I am. And it is just, I just can't think of how it could have gone better once I got... Once I finally surrendered, once I gave it up.
Praise God, that's the secret. Surrender. Donald, your history is a little different. Missionary parents.
Yeah.
So you grew up with the accoutrements of Adventism.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about growing up.
So, actually a funny story, when I was probably a teenager, we were at one of my aunt's church. I call her my aunt, it was actually my dad's aunt. And she had written a poem that she was reciting in front of church. She was kind of the youngest of, and kind of the favorite aunt who took care of them when they were kids. And she was the one who always said his prayers with him when he went to bed. He was a farm boy, grew up in Alberta. And she read this poem that every day when he would go to bed, he would say, Lord, please make me a missionary. And so that's what happened. He went to Canadian Union College. He went to Walla Walla. He got a physical therapy degree, went to Loma Linda, got a master's in health science, and went over to India. Well, he tried to go to India. On the way to the boat, a dual wheel came off of a semi-trailer and hit their car. My oldest brother was about a year or so old at the time, maybe a year and a half, and the car rolled, and so they had to wait to get to India. It fractured my brother's head both directions, and he was in a coma for about 9 days. And my mom broke her back and was in a back brace for quite a while. And once they recovered from that, they went over to India. They were there for about 3 years working at Gifford Memorial in Newsvid. And he would go all over India, and he would do health programs, and he would teach physical therapy at the nursing school and those kind of things. After India, they moved to Jordan. And they got evacuated out of Jordan at the start of the Six-Day War. And so they were back in the States for a short period of time, and they went over to Harry Mission Hospital in Tanzania.
Your folk did not take the easy route.
No. And
some tough assignments.
in Harry, he was working on a village health worker training program. So they would take people and train them to go out into the villages and combat disease in the villages.
Sure.
They got called back from Harry when my mom's father died, after about 3 years or so, and then went back. I got born there at Harry Mission Hospital, and we left not too long after I was born. We were in Canada for a couple of years while he was working up in the Indian reservations in the far north. And then we went back to Tanzania for about 4 or 5 years, about maybe 4.5. And they were combining the theological seminary at Arusha with the village health worker training program, so that the pastors would go out trained to do both health ministries and regular pastoral work when they went back to their villages. So they did that for about 4 years, and so I grew up my early time there, and then when I was a little older, he moved back to Loma Linda. He was working on a PhD before he went to Weimar to teach there at the health center at Weimar and run the outpatient New Start program. And from there, I kind of went on to college, and I went nursing direction. So.
It is one thing to be born of missionary parents, and you're born in Tanzania. It's another thing to know the Lord for yourself. When did the Lord sort of put his hand into your life for you?
Yeah, you know, I don't have one of those experiences where I can say, okay, well, on this day, this happened. It's more kind of an ebb and flow, huh? You kind of know the things that the Adventist Church teaches you to make your life better, and sometimes you kind of grab hold of those with both hands for a while, and then you get kind of distracted, and you kind of drift off towards it and something else, and then you think, oh yeah, I should be concentrating on this. And so you kind of move back to that. So I can't put my hand on any specific time and say, okay, this is when I figured out what it was all about. You know, in some ways I can say I was probably more of a Christian as a child than I am now, and in some ways I'm more of a Christian now than I was then. So.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're doing the work of the Lord, it's hard to sit back and be clinical in evaluating your own life. You know, I know this is right. I'm settled in this. This is what I do. This is what I am. I have no questions about this. I'm in. You know, I'm a lifer. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm into Jesus, and I'm into His work. We want to move into how you guys got together and this wonderful ministry that has come out of that. I think we'll go to our music just now, which is coming to us from the Breath of Life Quartet. They will be singing Have Thine Own Way, Lord. Then we'll come back and we'll unpackage this ministry and talk about some of the wonderful things that they are doing and that God is doing through them.
till all shall see Christ only always living in me.
Breath of Life Quartet, Have Thine Own Way, Lord. Well done. My guests are James Reynolds and Donald Lorenson.
Yeah.
I like Lorenson.
You can go either way.
They both of Ultimate Mission. And we want to talk about, we've gotten a little history on them as individuals. I need to ask how you guys met. How did you guys come together?
Jim knocked on my door.
Okay.
Well, Don had kind of started coming to our church, and I'd seen him, but I hadn't really talked to him. But we had hired a Bible worker at the Gladstone Park Church, and so I was going door to door with him doing Bible worker type stuff. And I ended up knocking on Don's door, and he recognized me from church, and he invited us in. And then I seen a stethoscope hanging there on his bag, and I was, as running the Healthy Heart program, I'm always looking for nurses. I'm always looking for medical people, and the light went off. I was like, oh, okay. And then from then, Don and I have been working very closely together ever since. I mean, he is my main advisor for the health program, since he actually knows something about it.
Yeah. You know, I will say this. It seems like when you came back to the Lord, you sort of jumped in with both feet. You went into the deep end. You didn't kind of come in to be a couch potato or sort of watch other people. You got involved, which is the way to do it.
Yeah, it is the way to do it, because I believe if I didn't get involved, I would get bored. If I was just sitting in the pews, if I was just listening to the sermon on Sabbath and going home the rest of the week, that wouldn't have kept the fire.
Yeah.
And every time I see the Holy Spirit work in somebody's life, every time I see somebody give their heart to God, I mean, that just gives me that energy and that fire that I need to keep my Christian faith and my experience working. And I want to say one more thing on that last, we talked about my son. My son now is doing fantastic.
Excellent.
So, yes.
Excellent. Yeah, that is great. That's good to hear. That's fitting.
So God answered my prayer.
Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
we made a deal, and he stuck to his side of it.
And you're holding up your end of the bargain, so it seems, at least. Yeah, and we praise the Lord for that. So you met, he's in your house. How did you move into, because you're doing heart stuff already. You were already doing that when you met Donald.
Yeah, we were working in big stores doing blood pressure checks and health risk assessments. But so I asked Don to help us do that. And then we started moving into India. And so that was a story. I was working with Asian Aid. And I had been to India with Asian Aid, and I was working trying to get some of their children sponsored, and Asian Aid is a great organization.
Oh, yes.
And Jim Rennie was going to sponsor me to go over to India to do an evangelism program. And so I had written all the sermons, I'd gotten everything done for the evangelism program. I was starting to look at renting the lorries and the building, or the tents and everything you need to do.
Sure.
And Jim called me and he says, well, the government's tightening up over there, and we feel that we cannot do an evangelism series without jeopardizing our orphanages and everything else we have going on over there. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, Jim, what if we do a health series? Jim thought about it for a second. He says, that would work. And so I immediately go to Don. And it just happened, I find out later that Don's dad had worked in India doing the same type of stuff that we were talking about doing. And Don's dad was had a PhD in public health.
Right.
And then Don is a public health nurse. And it just,
They told him, match made in heaven.
Yeah, you just watch, when you see God
kind of
laying
prescripted,
it down,
yeah. Excellent.
You don't really have to do much when God wants to do something done, except do what he tells you to do. I mean, it's not like I went looking to do anything in India.
Yeah.
You know, it just, God says, hey, we're going to do this now, and okay, we're doing this.
Yeah, yeah. He's got the missionary credentials. He's from a missionary family. It's kind of in the DNA. So it's a perfect, I guess it wasn't too hard of a sell to kind of bring you on board.
No, you know, India was, in my dad's career, was prior to me being born. And so I was kind of curious to see India. I'd never been there. I thought Dad might like to go back. And so I called him up and said, hey, Dad, so this is what the deal is. You want to go to India? And he said, yeah, sure.
There's a hard sell, yeah. Now, had this ministry, Ultimate Mission, been formed yet, or it's kind of in the future?
And the Ultimate Mission had been formed before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were formed in 2009. I think the trip we took was in 2013.
Oh, okay.
I'd been to India twice before. I'd went over with Del and Bonnie Orser, who are now with Gospel Outreach. And Del and Bonnie Orser had built 73 churches in India.
Wow.
With their own, money and time and everything. And so I went over with them the first time, and I got a really good tour of India, getting to look at all these little villages and everything. And then I went over the next year with Jim Rennie and Asian Aid to look at their schools. And all this time, I'm scouting. I'm trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? What is the ministry or the mission that I can have here? How can I have an impact here?
Okay, so you had it in your heart to really start something that you could sort of kind of get your hands dirty in and work with.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. So the Ultimate Mission is begun. Let's walk through what it is and what it seeks to do.
Okay. Ultimate Mission is an Adventist supporting ministry. And the reason we began is we wanted to help other Adventists find their mission, find their ministry. The first thing we did was work with the Oregon Conference to run a lay Bible worker training program. And that went really well. And then we went on to some other projects. I went to India, those 2 trips I told you about, and then we got with the Healthy Heart program. So it started in 2009. It started to develop. I mean, the Healthy Heart program, you had Molly Geddes on this show a couple of years ago, but she developed cancer. And she's the one that started the Healthy Heart program. She was a nurse. She developed cancer, and so she cajoled me into taking that ministry over. And I didn't want to at first because I already had this thing with Ultimate Mission. And I was thinking, well, I can't do a health ministry and this outreach ministry at the same time. But then when they came together, I started to realize, you know what? This is the same thing. And so we married the programs together. So now that is why Ultimate Mission primarily right now does health outreach. And so then that worked into what we're doing in India right now.
Now you say health outreach, so there is a stateside component and there's an overseas component.
Yeah.
Let's mind the stateside component for just a moment. You have volunteers that go out and do things. Walk me through what that part of the ministry is.
Yeah, so right now, one of the biggest health problems in the U.S. is hypertension. If you were to go out any place in America, 1/3 of the people there are pre-hypertensive, and they're going to have high blood pressure in a couple of years. 1/3 of the people there already have hypertension, and they're at increased risk for a heart attack and an early death.
Wow.
So 2/3 of your population is affected by hypertension. So what we're doing with Healthy Heart is we're taking nurses who have a real calling to do something. That's mostly how nurses are. They really want to help people. And they're looking around at their community, and some of them are getting older and retired. They still want to have a hand in helping people out, and some of them just feel a need to help a little bit more than they're currently doing in their lives. And so what we do is we set up health assessment screenings. We have an agreement with Kroger Foods. We can go into Fred Meyer stores. And we just come in with a couple nurses and a couple greeters, lay people who just want to help people. And we'll just ask people if they want to have their blood pressure checked, and we'll check their blood pressures, and we'll talk to them about ways to prevent hypertension and ways to use just general lifestyle changes to manage their hypertension. And then we just kind of use that as a bridge program. If people are interested in more information, they can come to the local church. They can get more classes on health. We offer programs like Dinner with a Doctor, where we'll have a doctor come in, he'll answer questions, he'll maybe give a talk, and you can get a healthy meal there and get recipes on the food that was served.
Nice.
And other health programs. One of the ways we did a lot of our planning for Ultimate Mission was we had a mall walking program. People would get together and they'd go walk around the mall, and that's where Jim and I did a lot of our planning on what we were going to do. And so we have several churches that are involved. We'll help with some of the materials they can use, with getting them to some of the computerized health assessment tools. There's a company called WellSource run by Dr. Don Hall, who has invented some great health assessment tools to really help people figure out what their risk factors are for disease and how to manage those.
So the screenings that you do in the various malls and supermarkets and things, is that done periodically on a regular basis? How does that function?
Yeah, most of our churches will run one Sunday a month.
Okay.
That's kind of the average, and they may take it in a couple shifts. So people are working, 2 to 4 hours one Sunday a month. That's pretty average. Some of our churches might be doing more, but I think that's about the average for the actual screening programs. And then, through the regular health ministries of the church, they'll put on, health programs and the like.
So your medical personnel, your nurses, they're volunteering their time in their services?
Yeah.
That is great. That is great. Do you find, or have you found, any connection as far as the entering wedge of health and actually folk ending up coming to the churches? Have you seen any pattern that this is having that kind of effect?
One of the difficult things, and Jim can talk better than this, I've done just a little bit of call porter work in my life, not much, but if I'm going door to door and I'm trying to establish a connection with you, that's really, really tough. If I meet you in a Fred Meyer store and you sit down in the seat in front of me and I lean forward and I put a blood pressure cuff around your arm and we start talking about how you're feeling, I'm right here.
Yeah.
We'll talk about anything. Sometimes I'm sitting there in a Fred Meyer store, I'm having a conversation for a good half hour with somebody I never met, because they just open up.
The other is more of a cold contact, and one who has tried call porting or literature evangelism work and failed abysmally. It's hard. First of all, I have a low rejection quotient. I don't like having doors slammed in my face.
You can't do that.
But they're coming to you, and there's a commonality because you've got a service that they want.
Well, in the health risk assessments, you're asking 15 different questions, and we work, like you said, closely with Don Hall. Dr. Hall helps us out with this, and you're asking 15 questions. Now, I may have a woman in front of me, and she's going to tell me how much she weighs, how old she is, and if she goes to church, if she visits her kids, if she has a husband. I'm going to get some very personal questions. And so with the blood pressure, you walk past that personal space bubble that we all have.
Agreed.
You walk right through that. And then with the health risk assessment, you walk right through that mental bubble. Because right now you're telling me things you wouldn't tell your own husband.
Precisely,
You wouldn't tell them. So yeah, the whole thing with health ministry, it's not a reaping, it's a sowing. We're sowing seeds, we're building bonds, and that's what Ultimate Mission is about. It's making connections. We're making connections with people so that eventually we can introduce them to the great healer, because that is our ultimate goal with everything.
So obviously you're keeping track of the contacts. You got names. You got information to kind of follow up.
Yeah, when we do the health risk assessment, we ask them if they'd like to be on our list of people, because we send out monthly. We'll send out a newsletter about health, and we have health classes and this and that. So we put them on our email list, and so yeah, we have a contact of anybody that would like to be on it. We're not, we're in secular stores and stuff, so we can't be out really, evangelizing and proselytizing, but we're helping people because we love them. And I find that when you just help people for the sake of helping people, that's when you become clear. People can see through you. And when people can see through you, if you're not there for a purpose, if you're not there trying to stuff the Bible down their throat, if they can just see you're there because you love them, then they can see through you. And that's when they see Jesus Christ.
Right, and there's time for that. I mean, that can come.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but right now you just want to help for help's sake.
Yes.
Because that's what good people do.
Yes. And we've had a pastor from a non-denominational church that started coming and working with the Healthy Heart program and ended up being an Adventist pastor.
Oh, praise the Lord. Praise God. Praise God.
In the health kind of gospel to health is probably the best way to describe it. The thing about it is, if everybody who was alive was in an Adventist church, then you could do all your health work there at the Adventist church. But as long as there's people who are not in an Adventist church,
Yeah.
you
got
can't
work to
afford
do.
to have everybody who knows about health being in an Adventist church.
Understood.
It's okay if you meet some of them at a Fred Meyer and they go to another church and take it with them, you know. And I think, you know, whether you're talking about gospel of health, Bible gospel, whatever, you know, we can do everything with the impetus that everyone we touch has got to come to our church, and that's fine. You know, I've been an Adventist all my life because it makes my life better.
Yeah.
You know? But as long as there's people who are out there, I don't so much care if they're coming to my church right now. They'll come later when they're ready.
Sure, yeah.
I'd rather have them out there at their church telling people things that I can't tell them because I'm not there. You know?
Understood. Now, you say Fred Meyer. I know Kroger. Kroger is Midwest, and I think West too. I'm an East Coast guy.
Yeah.
All my ministry in New York City. We don't have Kroger, and we certainly don't have Fred Meyer. That's a supermarket chain, I suspect.
Right, it's
yeah.
Northwest, yes. Well, it's more than supermarket. What is it? You'll find it at Fred Meyer. I mean, it's a one-stop shopping place.
I've been to, because
like a
they have
super Walmart,
clothing and then
maybe, yeah.
again, kind of like, okay.
It's kind of like Walmart's different.
Yeah. So you were able to contact them, and they allow you to come in and do this?
Molly Geddes did this, and that was a miracle in itself. Because since then, I've tried to contact Walmart to see if we can come in through there. And I'm telling you, the firewall for you getting into some of these places is thick.
Yeah.
And so just being able to be in these places where we can reach the general public. I mean, we'll reach 50, depending on the hours we work, we've reached 50 to 100 people a day that we will personally touch and talk to. And so it's just an amazing way to reach in your community and let your community know that you love them. I mean, there's a question, I can't remember who asked this question, but if the Adventist church, if your church was no longer, if the wind came and blew it away, okay, your church was no longer there, would anybody notice?
Yeah. You know who asked that question? I did. That's my question.
Was that your question?
That's my question.
Well, praise God. That was a great question.
That's my question.
I'm quoting CIA. I didn't even know it.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, if the church was no longer there, would anybody notice? Would anybody care?
Right.
Yeah.
In Gladstone, people would know. We get people come back to us almost every week the time we're at Fred Meyer. We got people come back to us and say, you know what, my doctor wanted me to tell you thank you because you probably saved my life.
Yeah.
And people come back almost every time we're there and tell us how thankful they are that we help them out. Because 30% of the people we check have high blood pressure and don't know it. I mean, even you'd think nowadays you can buy the blood pressure checks for $40.
Yeah.
But they don't know it.
Yeah, praise the Lord.
And what was the guy last week? 160 over 110?
That's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is up there. That, first of all, must be rewarding, and even if the fact that every contact does not lead to a splash in the baptismal pool, the fact that you've sown seeds and you've put out goodness out there, and when you put goodness out, it's going to come back. Some way, somehow, it's going to come back. And the fact that you were able to get into a large chain like that, because I know that, particularly in the East Coast, stores are very leery about partnering even with something as good as yours. If it comes through a religious kind of funnel, they don't want to commit themselves. So the fact that you've gotten into two fairly good-sized chains is a good thing.
Yeah, and we're straight up with them. They know we're Adventists, but we don't proselytize there. And we're there because we love people. We're there because we want to help people, and they know that. We've been going, here's another miracle. We've been doing this since 2007 in the Fred Meyer stores.
Praise the Lord.
And we have not had one complaint.
Amen.
And there is nothing you can do since 2007 and not get one complaint. There's nothing I can do in a week and not get one complaint. And so that's a miracle in itself, because just the, militant atheist, the first militant atheist that goes to the Fred Meyer management, shut down.
Yeah, sure.
We're done.
Sure.
And so it just, to me, God has opened this door up for us to reach into the communities and to talk to people and to help people and just, like I say, show them we love them.
Yeah.
That's the key.
It's a simple and powerful thing. Let me ask, how big is your stable of practitioners that you sort of work with, your nurses and the people that go out with you?
Boy, I don't know. We probably have about 14 churches, but how many volunteers? I don't know.
It would be better than 100. And, I've never really counted because every church runs its own program, and they have a stable of volunteers in that program. Just in our program alone, I looked at the name tags the other day of all the people that have been and helped us out, and we probably have 30, 40 name tags for our program. So if you want to multiply that by 13, 14 churches, we're well almost to 200.
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk about the success of the program in relation to how many people didn't know they have hypertension and then were able to do something about it, but there's another component. I mean, if you're an introvert like me, your favorite thing to do is not to walk up to a stranger and say, "Hi, would you like your blood pressure checked?" And it's sometimes difficult for people to get past their own personal bubble of being able to talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, after you've been standing in Fred Meyer every Sunday for a few months, and everyone who goes by are asking him, "Hi, you want your blood pressure checked?" It goes a long way to helping you overcome that reluctance to talk to other people. It has not only benefits for your own personal ministry with people, but shoot, it helped me out in my career.
Well, amen. And then too, you've got a commodity, you've got a service that people want. Yeah. So there's an air commonality. It's not like you're trying to sell them something or even give them something. Yeah. They're coming to you because you've got something that they need and that they want. Yeah.
The amazing part is a lot of people do think that, people are so skeptical that they always think there's a hook. What's the hook? What are you selling? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to get me into? There's no hook. Yeah. There's no hook. We're doing this because we love you. There's no hook.
Yeah. And that's disarming, We just care. We're doing this. Now, you say you've got 14 churches, and I want to kind of walk through this because a church comes to you and says, "We want to be part of your program under your umbrella." What do you provide for that church? Coordination? How do you work with? You've got 14 churches in your group now. What do you provide for them?
So Don and I will go speak at their church. We'll help them get the volunteers. We will give them we'll do a training for them, as many trainings as they need. We have a startup packet that includes the handouts that Dr. Don Hall has written. It includes where you can get the programs for the computer, for the health risk assessment. It includes the list of materials that you need for the program. It includes, if you're going to go into Fred Meyer, and we're in a few different types of stores, but if you're going to go into Fred Meyer's, I've got to go through corporate to get that set up. So I get that set up. We're working with the GC, and GC has given us an umbrella insurance policy.
Okay.
So we have insurance. So we have a packet that we have put together that people have insurance, they have the material, they have the understanding of how they do it, and then Don and I will give them the training, mostly Don, but we will give them the training of what it takes to run this program.
Yeah, well, he's the brains, you're the mouthpiece, that kind of thing. I should have said it that way. He's the motivation, you're the mouth. Somebody's got to be the PR guy. Somebody's got to go.
Then we have to decide if we're not successful, is it because we didn't talk well or we didn't think well?
And you have set me up for hearing that over and over again, I'm sure.
I don't want to come between a happy union here. I apologize. But I like the concept.
Luckily for us, we've got a board of about 10 people. So.
Oh, very good. For a church, okay, I've got a church, we've heard this, we kind of like this idea. What am I looking at for financial outlay? Is there a large financial outlay for the local church?
$600.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a budget busting kind of thing.
No, $600 and $300 of that is the computer. Well, if you have your own computer and stuff, buying a computer or something. But almost everybody has a laptop. But about $600. We'll set you up with everything.
And that's kind of if you want the deluxe program. We've had churches that start out with nothing else but a couple of nurses with blood pressure cuffs.
Now, are you centered in the Northwest per se? Are you looking to expand? Can you handle expansion? Because the world is going to hear this program.
Yeah.
Right. So you may get a call from Tim Buck, yada, yada. We want to be part of this.
Well, you know, we'd have to think about flying out to, say, you know, Texas to do a training program there and what would happen there, because it hasn't come up yet. But the materials are easily sent all over the shoot. We have seven, right, in Honduras?
Yeah.
We have 7 churches in Honduras that are running basically the same program.
Wow.
And I haven't been down to Honduras yet. So the package can be easily, you know, given to a church that wants to run with it.
Yeah.
To go out and do a training program, well, you know, the thing about ministry is that if you're working for God, you don't have to do it all yourself. So I'm certain that God has other people that could probably walk into a place and do a training program other than us.
Yeah. Having said that, though, you are up and running.
Yeah.
And you've got a successful track record. And I'm sure a church who wants to do this kind of thing would not be averse to sending you a plane ticket, because it's worth it, you know, to come and do this kind of thing. And what I like about this, guys, it's user-friendly, and it doesn't seem to be very difficult to start up. There's not like this steep learning curve. It's kind of, you know.
No, it's a simple program.
Yeah, a simple program that has great community results.
And we're basically just teaching the Adventist health message.
Yeah, yeah.
The 8 laws of health. I mean, we're not prescribing medications. We're not making diagnosis. As a matter of fact, we can't. We shouldn't.
Right.
But what we're doing is just talking about healthy lifestyles. So.
Oh, you know, and our crack team here has reminded me we got 2 video rolls, and one of them kind of sets up what this program is. Let's go to that one just now. And thanks, guys. You're making me look good. Praise the Lord. Let's go to that first roll, because this kind of gives us an overview of what you're doing. We'll look at that just now.
Hello, my name is Jim Reynolds, and I am the president of Ultimate Mission, which is the manager for Healthy Heart India and Healthy Heart USA and Healthy Heart Honduras. As I was going through India, I was kind of scouting things out, and I was looking, well, how can we do the most with what we have, with the few people that we've got, with the small amount of funds that we have? How can we make the most happen in this country with 1.2 billion people in it? God dropped this idea in our lap, this idea to hire pastors' wives to become and teach them to be medical missionaries so that they could help the children, and the children could then grow up knowing how to wash their hands, drink clean water, and possibly change the way the whole country is living.
All right, we're getting ready to go to a village. We're going to do some outreach, so...
And so it now come to this. We're in our 3rd year. We have 70 women that we just trained. These women, they're getting a stipend, they're getting some education, and they're helping people out, and it's just empowering these women. A woman will do 6 to 8 visits a day, 5 days a week. Right now, we are on track this year to do over 100,000 health visits. We were told that this is the right arm of the ministry when no other ministry would work, with no other type of evangelism would work, the health message would work, and right now that is being proven true, truer than you could ever imagine.
All right, really good. We kind of got stuck stateside and didn't get a chance to talk about what you're doing overseas, which is a great work. Let's walk through that. This idea of training, is it pastors' wives or walk me through that whole thing.
Well, in India, Bible workers are called, well, I call them pastors because they'll pastor 5 churches. So to me, although the Indians may call them Bible workers, I'll call them pastors. They're pastoring 5 churches. And so we started, we went over there and we trained gospel outreach workers at first. And these men would go out and do health missionary work along with their other stuff that they did. But we started to realize after a story where a guy trained his wife, and he trained her out of a book we gave them called Where There Is No Doctor. And he trained his wife the same things we had trained him. She read this book, and one day they're coming home and they see a group of people on the side of the road, and they pull over to see what's going going on with this group of people, and there's a lady in the middle of the group of people that's in labor, having a baby. Well, this woman, after reading this book, went and delivered that baby right there in the mud and the dirt and the rain on the side of the road. And Don and I were talking about this and some of the other stories coming back. We're thinking, we're training the wrong people. We need to be training the women, not the men. And, you know, one of the other problems is the gospel outreach workers, they don't make a whole lot of money. And so it's hard to keep them in churches because they have to go do other jobs in order to keep their family alive. So we were trying to figure out, well, how do we help that? And so when we hire their wives to be medical missionaries, we pay them 2,000 rupees a month. We basically double the wage of that pastoral family. Which helps keep the churches open, which gives this pastoral family food and everything. I mean, we get a lot of letters from these ladies telling us how this is really helping their family to survive, which is really touching. But so we started training the women, and the neat thing, the women carry the food, or carry the water, the women fix the food, the women take care of the children. And if the children can learn to wash their hands, drink clean water when they're young, they can grow up, and you can start helping that whole society to become cleaner, better, healthier. Although it's a wonderful society, I don't want to say that wrong, but it just, the World Health Organization said that if you could teach children to wash their hands and drink clean water, you could save half the children that die every day in India. Around 4,000 children die under the age of 5 every day in India. If you could teach them to wash their hands and drink clean water, you could...
From preventable stuff. And
easy preventable stuff.
That's powerful. Don, you had some little toys there that we want to talk about, because this works into that idea that was talking about.
I don't know how well this will show up on TV. It's kind of small. This is called a WAPI. That's short for a water pasteurization indicator. So normally when you're talking about purifying water...
Hold it still and see if they can find it. There you go.
What you do is you boil the water. But water is actually safe to drink when it's pasteurized. So water will boil somewhere around 200 degrees. It'll get pasteurized at a little bit over 140. And what this is this little wax here is engineered to melt at just a little bit over the temperature at which water pasteurizes and is safe to drink. So when you're living hand to mouth and you have no real budget, buying gas or collecting wood to heat water is a big deal, and the less fuel you can use to heat water to make it safe to drink, the better. The other thing that happens is that when you boil water, you kind of boil some of the oxygen out of it, and it loses some of its flavor. So it tastes a lot better to drink when it's pasteurized, and a lot of the reason why we do the things we do is because things taste good. You know, none of us goes to the store and eats a chocolate cake because it's good for us. And so people are more likely to drink water if it tastes better, and they're more likely to heat water and make it safe to drink if they can spend less money on fuel doing it. So this is made of a bulletproof glass. This has a lifetime of probably several generations. Very, very simple.
It'll be around for a while.
Yeah, they're very, very simple, very cheap. This is one of the tools that we use over there quite a bit to teach people. This one is pretty new. I'm going to let Jim talk about this one because he's really the one who kind of pioneered this in our arsenal.
Kind of hold it up so they can find it. There you go.
So this is a Madi Drop. It's a 6-ounce ceramic tablet, and this 6-ounce ceramic tablet is infused with silver ions. So what you do is you put 2.5 gallons of water in a pail in a container of some sort, and you drop this in, and in 12 to 24 hours, depending on the contamination of the water's safe to drink.
Wow.
So one of the things that we find hard is, you know, sometimes in India they don't put 2 and 2 together as far as the water is what's making me sick. So they don't put a lot of effort into getting clean water. What this does is it makes clean water without a whole lot of effort. And it works for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
It basically can make 5 gallons of water a day for 6 months if the water isn't too contaminated. If it's really contaminated, it needs to be in 24 hours. But, I mean, and you can put it on your shelf and it'll last for a lifetime. I mean, this will last for 100 years.
So this will do it for you. You say, okay, we have a bucket of water. We put that in today. We drink that water. We put that on the shelf. Can I put it in another bucket of water and it'll work just as well?
Yes.
For how long?
6 months.
Okay, for 6 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that an expensive thing?
No, it's not that expensive. Matter of fact, we get it at a reduced rate because we buy them in bulk. And we've just been okayed to sell them to the general public, which is great because all the money goes towards sponsoring our ministry.
Okay.
But $14.95 and you can have one of those, and it's a insurance policy that if something happened and you needed fresh water out of that slough down there, you could get the water out of the slough and
work it.
use the Madi Drop.
Excellent. Let's go to the video that talks about this because our time is getting away from us. I know there's a couple things more I want to touch on. So let's take that video just now.
Smile. Oh, that's good. Hello. Hi. Hello. Hi. Good.
అలా మొత్తం ఏదన్నా గరిట తీసుకొని
Thank you. Thank you. వందనాలు. Thank you for clean water.
That is so neat. That is really, really cool. I want to go right now to the address roll. Should you want to make contact with Ultimate Mission, support their ministry, and this is a ministry that is very much worth your support, your time, your effort, your prayers, here's how you can make contact with Ultimate Mission.
Ultimate Mission is a lay ministry training and project management group. Its goal is to help train, organize, re-energize, and empower Christians to finish the work of spreading the gospel to the world. If you would like to find out more about Ultimate Mission, you can do so by writing to Ultimate Mission, 19135 Addie Street, Gladstone, Oregon 97027. That's Ultimate Mission, 19135 Addie Street, Gladstone, Oregon 97027. You can call 503-891-6040. That's 503-891-6040. You can also visit them online at ultimatemission.net. That's ultimatemission.net.
And that is good information. Jim, why don't you look into that camera and give us your closing thought, kind of put a little bow on this as we get ready to end the program.
You bet, you bet. It is amazing what this program not only does for the villages, this health ministry in India, but also for the women that are working this program. They're able to make an income, and women in India really, they're not thought of well. They're sometimes thought of property, but when they run this program, they are respected, they are empowered, and what it does for these women's lives and their children is just amazing. And it's one thing to go and do a missionary trip somewhere, but it's another thing to go and train people to do missionaries in their missionary work in their own language, in their own culture. I mean, that is just huge. And so we don't just take people fish, we go to India and we teach people to fish. And these women are doing amazing, amazing work. What it's doing for the people in the villages, I mean, the villages we're in, the dysentery is dropping sometimes by 40%. The churches are growing from 20 to 100% in some churches. And what it's doing to these women's lives are incredible. I wish I had more time to tell you, but thank you very much for watching what I did tell you.
Amen. This is a great two-pronged ministry. What they're doing stateside, what they're doing in India and worthy of your support. Well, our time has fast slipped into eternity. Allow me now in closing to wish you both grace and peace through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye, and God bless.